Okay, we're live.
Okay, hello.
Hello. Welcome to another tea time with Kelly.
And Amy.
Yeah, so today we are talking about Circe by Madeline Miller. A very hyped book. A lot of people that I know have read it, gave it 5 stars. I have, yet to hear too many bad reviews about the book. So,
Not many.
not many. It's a lot of 5 stars, which,
Yeah.
I had a lot of expectations then going into this book with that.
Yeah, me too. Once again, the hype failed us.
The hype failed us.
And we agree. Again.
Yeah, again, which is, it's starting to get a little scary. Like, we're heading into spooky season, and this is scaring me, Kelly.
It is. People are going to not believe us when we say we used to argue about books all the time.
Yeah.
So to start with, what would you rate it as for you?
I did end up giving it a 4 out of 5 stars,
Ooh.
which I think is maybe a little generous.
Yeah, you were more generous than me.
I didn't hate reading it.
I didn't either.
Like, I think that Madeline Miller is a really good storyteller. Mm-hmm. Her writing is really easy to read. And there weren't times where, it was easy for me to sit and read it for long periods of time.
Yes. Without,
just wanting to stop, which is kind of rare for me anymore in ebook books. And so, for that reason, I gave it a higher rating. Because I was, toggling back and forth between 3 or 4 stars. I'm like, well, I actually did enjoy reading it, so I'm going to give it a 4 or 5.
There you go.
Yeah.
Okay. I landed at 3.
Okay.
Yeah, it wasn't bad. I mean, I didn't mind reading it, and her writing is very good, which is basically why it got 3 from me. So, because of the writing.
Yeah.
So,
she does a really good job with, setting a scene and just, bringing you into the story.
The description. She's very good with description. She's very good at setting a mood. Yeah. All of that was really, really good. And I have not read any other book by her.
I haven't either.
So,
but
I don't know.
Does she have a lot of books? I think the only one she has is Song of Achilles, right?
Is that it? No, I don't know. I thought there was more listed in the front of the book. But
no, that's the only one that I know of. And again, that was
no, maybe it is
super high.
Maybe it is. And I haven't read that. So I have a feeling I might like that better, maybe. Simply because it actually follows people who do stuff.
Thank you.
Which was probably my main gripe with this book. But anyway, we can get into that. I guess I'm going to do it now.
Yeah, now's the perfect time we're talking about the book, Kelly.
We are starting now. Yeah, that was my main gripe was she didn't do anything. I mean, it follows obviously Circe, who was a god in Greek mythology. Goddess. And it turns out that she and her brothers and sister were witches, which was kind of a new thing to the gods. They came from the line of Titans rather than the Olympians. And so things were a little different. There was some friction between the two sides. So when it was discovered that these kids kind of had the new powers, well, they weren't kids anymore. Right. They're gods, so they're immortal, but still. The Olympians, who are kind of in charge, got all threatened and anyway, demanded that they be taken care of. And Circe herself was still living in her father's palace, and then she got all up, and I don't know what she thought she was going to do. Anyway, she confessed to doing witchcraft intentionally, where the other kids were like, oh, I don't know, it just happened. I don't know what I did. Circe says she did it intentionally, confessed to it, and so she gets exiled to an island, which is how it's Circe the witch.
She also was the least liked child of all of them.
Yeah, they didn't like her.
No one liked her. They're like, you have a mortal voice. It sounds so terrible. And
yeah, that was about it. The main reason people didn't like her, she was ugly. Supposedly. For a
goddess.
Okay, so that was weak for me because I felt like there wasn't really she didn't spend much time trying to figure out why Circe was alienated by everybody. It was just that her voice was bad and she was ugly. That was it.
Yeah.
So they all treated her like crap. But I have something actually on that, but I'll get to that later. But anyway, yeah, it was just weak. But anyway, that's how she ended up getting exiled to this island where she stayed.
And stayed.
And stayed. There was one time she went off island when her sister, who was a hag, was giving birth and somehow finagled it so that Circe could come attend her childbirth of the Minotaur.
Mm-hmm.
So she went there, did that, met Daedalus, because I figured we had to like throw every famous person in Greek mythology in the kitchen sink at this story because Circe obviously met them all.
Of course.
Which maybe she did. I didn't go back and read the classic tales, so I don't really know if that's canon or not. I have no idea. But anyway, that was the only time. Everything else, it was people coming to her island and she met them. That was pretty much it.
Yep.
So it made for, she was a very passive character, and I don't really like passive characters. It was just, she had little to no agency of her own and didn't do anything. So that was kind of my biggest gripe, is that as there was no plot pretty much until like the last, I don't know, 30% maybe after her son was born.
Yeah.
Then there was a somewhat of a plot line, but it still didn't go anywhere. It was kind of like an episodic type thing, like today's episode, who visits Circe's island? But there wasn't even really that much storyline to that. I mean, things happened obviously when people visited, but it was just like this is what happened, and then they left. I don't know.
Yeah.
It
very
just,
repetitive.
or she turned him
very
into
dull.
pigs and killed him. You know, there's that
which I
too.
liked. I was also I was here for that. I was just like, yes, girl, get it.
Yeah. So yeah, I just don't feel like it was much of a plot story. It was much, much more of a character study, which is fine. I like those.
Mm-hmm.
I was just thinking, what was that? Oh, right here. Piranesi by Susanna Clark. Very, very much for the first probably 2/3, at least half, is a character study of how this guy lives. And it was interesting. So a character study can be good in how you deal with things. And a lot of this was how Circe dealt with her family, you know, not having a place in her family and being punished. And she was all about, you know, how cruel and fickle the gods were and all that. She had a very victim mentality to me.
Very much.
But anyway, but this is Circe and this is Piranesi. So way too long for a character study and not much else to me. So that was kind of my problem with it.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like the beginning and the end were the best parts of the book, and the middle could have just been thrown out.
Mm-hmm.
Because, yeah, like you said, it was just really, really boring. Just like, oh, who's going to show up on our island today? And then just like, oh, we're going to have like multiple romance. We're going to sleep with everybody. And I just.
Which is kind of canon.
It is.
She did kind of do that. But yeah, I mean.
Like I didn't like it. I don't
know. No.
Just like I wasn't going into this book for romance. I wanted a book where the main character is a badass female who's gonna like, you know, do some shit, but she didn't do anything. Like literally, the only things that I liked that she did was she turned the men into pigs, which here for that. She stood up to her dad finally at the very end, was just like, yo, this is what's gonna happen and you're gonna do it. She was able to keep Athena, the goddess Athena, away from her island for a little bit, which I thought was really cool.
Mm-hmm.
And
by the way, that was like the only indication of how powerful a witch she was.
Exactly.
I mean, she herself didn't really think that she was that powerful. and the people around her did not treat her as powerful.
Right.
So, like, the only indication of how really strong she was doing this spell that kept Athena off the island because Athena wanted to kill her son. So, you know,
Right.
that was like the only indication. So I was kind of like,
Yeah. And
even when she turned all the men into pigs. See, because to me, okay, so like the first time anybody lands on her island is this group of, well, not the first time, I guess, because Jason and Medea.
Right.
But anyway, one of the first times I guess somebody like accidentally found her island and they come in and she's all hospitable and feeds them and
she's so naive about it.
yeah, and all of this. And yeah, and that killed me because like yeah, she was always so dang naive, but yet at the same time constantly talked about how the nymphs were the lowest of the low in the god hierarchy and about all they did or all they were so not powerful that the only thing that ever happened to them was like they got raped and that was it. And so she constantly talked about that. And yet when men come to her island, she's all like, "Oh, company." And she feeds them and of course they rape her.
Yeah.
But she had made this potion and put it in their wine and then so all she had to do was like speak this power word and they turned into pigs. But she is like she is a powerful witch.
Right.
And that's what she did. I mean, you would think she could have like prevented it from happening in the first place.
Oh, I think at that
had
point
some
it kind of became
protections.
more of like a game. I feel like
I mean,
she
I
was
know that's
very
what actually happened.
I feel like she was very kind of like bitter and she was also lonely. And so
Yeah.
I feel like she had so many men treat her like crap. It was kind of like a reward for her to like have some company finally for a little bit
Yeah.
and then just like destroy these men and turn them into pigs and like not kill them right away. Like she made it a game kind of a thing.
Well, she did. And, after that too, and that's why I feel like she always had this victim mentality was that, after that, she would still welcome people to her island, men to her island, and then she would feed them the potion and then wait to see what they did. And if they started like paying more attention to her belongings, because her house had lots of riches in it and such, but if they started like getting that look in their eye, then she'd speak the word and they were pigs. And she said some of them were genuinely nice and she let them go. And that was fine. But it was like she was constantly just trying to recreate the situation instead of trying to grow beyond it.
Right. She just was trying to stay the victim.
Yeah, exactly. And so like she could like constantly get revenge over and over and over, which I get. Don't get me wrong, I get it. But it's still not moving past what happened. It's not trying to grow beyond what happened. It's just staying stuck in the same cycle.
Right. Like
I feel like that's what she did constantly.
Yeah. Well, she'd been through like a lot of trauma, I guess you could say. And so maybe she was just like so used to being in that like trauma state that she didn't want to leave.
Yeah, maybe.
Like, I don't know.
Maybe. But I actually went and looked for reviews, bad reviews that kind of agreed with what I was thinking. And I really couldn't find that many.
No.
But a lot of them talked about her character growth. Like the main point of a character study story is to show the progression and growth of a character. And they were talking about, oh, she just grew so much and she evolved so much. And I'm like,
Huh?
so the only thing that I saw was that she was a doormat to start with. I mean, she was like a dog begging for attention from its master who kept kicking it.
Mm-hmm.
And then towards the end, she basically demanded her freedom from her father. So she got to the point where you don't really intimidate me that much anymore. But yet the way she thought, she still thought of herself as a victim to the gods. And that this was a big thing. I'm going to stand up to him, like standing up to a bully. But it isn't like growing past like they can't hurt me anymore. They can't bother me. I'm not going to let it bother me. She still let it bother her. She just stood up to him. So
Right.
to me, there wasn't a lot of internal growth that went on there. And then, if I remember right, that whole time she was like trying to channel Odysseus while she was doing it. Like she kept talking about. Remember when she was talking about? Oh, I'd have to find it again. But yeah, it was like Odysseus did this in his story, so that's what
Oh.
I'm gonna do, or I can do it this way because that's what he did in his story.
Right.
That's not even you.
No, like
Same
gotta do
gripe
this
I
for you.
had with 7 Husbands and Monique. It was
Yes.
like she never had any growth of her own. It was just channeling something else.
Right.
Anyway, I was looking. I had marked a couple spots. But when she was on her island and she was just learning her island and she wandered the island way too much.
Which I mean, like,
Always walking the island.
oh, I mean, there's not much else to do if you're on the island, but we don't need to hear about
But in
it.
the course of a story, I mean, at some point you can just assume, just stop talking about walking the island, start talking about coming home from a walk or talk about finding something on a walk. But she just refamiliarizing herself with everything. But anyway, she was talking about learning her witchcraft and stuff, and she says, I was drunk, as the wine and nectar in my father's hall had never made me. No wonder I had been so slow, I thought. All this while I have been a weaver without wool, a ship without the sea, yet now look where I sail. She's like blaming, like, never mind that she was in her father's hall when she turned, whatever his name was, Glaucus.
Oh, Glaucus.
Oh yeah, turned Glaucus into a god, and then turned
That
Scylla
part-
into a monster.
That part frustrated me.
She was still
so
in her
much.
father's hall at that point. I think it wasn't that she was a weaver without wool or a ship without a sea. She was just a doormat that couldn't see beyond what she was. And it really was. I mean, oh my gosh. For like talks about thousands of years, she sat at her father's feet. There was a part where her sister, when she goes to her sister, Great Helios stepped on you all the faster because you were already crouched at his feet. And it was. And in thousands of years, she never once thought to do things differently, never once thought it could be different. And then she learned her witchcraft while she was still there. She was just stupid enough to admit to it, which is what her brother tells her.
Yeah.
What did you do that for? That was dumb. I can't remember why she went to confess. Did she?
I think she just wanted to be like, I can look what I can do, and try and get them earn like a little respect from them, and like maybe then they will like her or fear her. Something.
Yeah.
Bird friend.
I think it was.
I don't know.
When her brother basically tells you did Scylla a favor by changing her.
Yeah, I was not sad to see Scylla get changed into a monster. Like, I get it. Like, y'all best be lucky that I don't have these powers. Because some of y'all, my jealousy be strong, okay? So.
Be going wild. Yeah, it was something like she was just finally wanting to get attention or something.
Yeah. I don't know what she expected from that. Like, she would confess and they'd be like, oh, great witch, we bow to you. What? I don't know.
Well, and she was like boasting that she did it. And they were laughing at her because they didn't believe that these flowers had the power that she said they did.
Right.
And
because they were supposed to have been their powers taken away by Zeus or someone like long ago, so that they didn't actually weren't able to be used in potions and witchcraft and things, but that was all just tales, I think, that they
Yeah, I don't
told.
know. It was, again, it wasn't a really, it's kind of a weird reason that she decided.
I really do think it was just for attention because
Yeah,
the way
maybe.
that Zeus and the Olympians acted, they were kind of frightened of the
Hmm.
witches, and so then she was just like, "Oh well, if I admit that I can do this and I have all these abilities, and maybe my dad will love me, and my brothers and sisters will love me, and I don't
Well,
know."
I think she was trying to show that she's not like other gods.
True.
Because at the very beginning, there's a passage between her and Prometheus before he gets basically sentenced to the cliff where he gets his liver eaten out by an eagle every day, and then it regrows and it happens again the next day. But anyway, before that happened, um, she talked with him, and she was always kind of um, wondering why he did what he did, and couldn't quite, because he didn't match up with her idea of a god.
Right.
By taking fire to the mortals, he was helping the mortals, and that didn't quite match up to um, what her experience with the gods was. Um, so it was like, she said not all gods need to be the same. And so she remembers Prometheus and how when he was whipped in her father's hall, um, and they all watched like it was a entertainment, and how they all would want their own turn with the whip. And she's like, I'm not like that. And
Right.
so, um, if you're not like that, Circe, then what you have to do something they wouldn't, which was confess. And that was her whole thing, trying to prove that I'm not like you. Okay. So that was why she did it. And yeah, and then ended up like her brother said, "What are you, an idiot? You like humiliated your own father in his own hall. What did you think was going to happen here?"
Exactly, because her
So,
father's very proud.
yes.
Like he cares about himself and himself only, pretty much.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
at all. And that's the thing she kept talking about, the gods. They only care about themselves.
Mhm.
And if they care about you, then it's because of what you can bring to them,
Right.
not because of you yourself.
Right.
Um, so yeah. But it's funny, I marked this spot too when she went to her sister. And see, her sister and brother, one of her brothers, were twins. And they were always really cruel to her. And so you go along thinking, oh, they're just, just like everybody else, making fun of poor Circe, who's everybody hates. Um, but it was um, it was kind of, a little different. When she goes to see her sister's still kind of um, demanding and overbearing and all of this. And Circe's thinking she's um, stepping up and confronting her. And her sister shoots back with, "It's funny that even after all this time, you still believe you should be rewarded just because you've been obedient. I thought you would have learned that lesson in our father's halls. None shrank and simpered as you did, and yet great Helios stepped on you all the faster because you were crowded at his feet. But let me tell you a truth about Helios and all the rest. They do not care if you're good. They barely care if you're wicked. The only thing that makes them listen is power. It is not enough to be uncle's favorite, to please some god in his bed. It is not enough even to be beautiful. For when you go to them and kneel and say, 'I've been good, will you help me?' Which she did.
Yeah.
They wrinkle their brows. 'Oh, sweetheart, it cannot be done. Oh, darling, you must learn to live with it. And have you asked Helios? You know I do nothing without his word.'" So it's kind of like a view of her sister was much smarter than than Circe was. And she learned really quick how to live with them. And that was to basically take power for herself, which when her father married her off to a half mortal, half god king, she took over. She took over the place. And he was not a great guy. And so she turned around and tormented the crap out of him. And Circe's sitting here thinking, oh my God, she's such a bitch. But it was, I can't pronounce her sister's name. Yeah,
I can't
I don't know.
either.
But it was her sister taking power. Like, you can do what you want, but I'm going to kick back.
Right.
And she did. And so you get that view of it in her confrontation with Circe. And does Circe take anything away from that other than her sister's a bitch?
Nope.
No, she does not.
Nothing at all.
And like her sister's story, honestly, would have been so much better story.
Oh yeah, I
to
would have
read.
loved to have
Yeah.
read that, because she would have also been like still like in the middle of everything. Like Circe is on the out. She doesn't have any of the news of like the wars and things that are happening.
Mm-hmm.
It's like her sister was like right in the middle.
Yeah.
Of all the stuff.
But I think her sister's character growth. Like I do think when they were in their father's hall, palace, whatever,
mm-hmm.
she was just petty and
yes.
cruel, and
she was young.
She knew how to play the game, but she was more favored by their mother because she was pretty. Whatever that means, because later on it says Circe was beautiful, so who knows?
Yeah.
Prettier, I guess, or in the proper way, pretty in the right way, maybe. So I think there was just a little bit of this kind of petty cruelty kind of thing, but through marriage, and I think it said in the beginning when she was given to this king, it was kind of a step down. It's not who she wanted to be married to. And so just based on, it talked about how her sister ruled with her poisons, ruled her country. And when Circe goes there, and then she has this confrontation and talking to her sister, of course, Circe's horrified by these things that her sister has done, but you can see where her sister has twisted things and gotten what she wanted by embracing herself and embracing her own power. And Circe even says when she goes into her sister's workroom that they were simple spells.
True.
Circe was far more powerful than her sister was, but her sister embraced her power and did the most that she could with it and ended up in a far better place.
Yeah.
Than Circe did. So I think her sister's character growth was
a lot greater. For sure.
Much more.
For sure.
So anyway.
Yeah.
That kind of,
I think her sister grew up.
Yes.
Very fast after the marriage to, was it Minos? Whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't think when it comes to character growth for Circe, I don't think there was that much, because she always saw herself as a victim to the gods, even when she brought it on herself.
Yeah.
And I don't think that ever changed.
She was just
really.
She was just very bitter.
Yeah. She just got more willing to stand up to them. But she never saw them any different. She never saw herself any different. She never saw herself related to them as any different. It was always the same.
Even at the end, she told Helios, like, you do not count me among your children, or whatever.
Right.
So she just, like, wants absolutely nothing to do with the gods, even though she is one of them. So.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's nice.
Yeah. And speaking of the end. That was, the summary of the book kind of leads you to believe that Circe basically falls in love with mortality, and then in the end takes a potion, does a spell on herself to become mortal, because she loves the mortals so much that she wants to be mortal. I did not get that.
No, I did not either. I think she pretty much was just tired of watching people that she loved die.
Yeah.
And she didn't want to have anything to do with the gods anymore.
Yeah. Do you think because she was envisioning this life with Telemachus, who was Odysseus's son by Penelope, which is kind of odd.
I thought it was, I literally wrote it down just like, what did I say? I totally called it. Where was it? Something about how like I called her and Telemachus getting together, but that's like kind of weird, right?
Yeah.
Because it's like she slept with his dad. So like in
So her
today's world, it'd be kind of like her stepson.
Yeah,
kind
so
of a
her
thing.
son was Telemachus's half brother. Anyway, that is part of the myth, though. I think that she has a relationship with Telemachus,
which is fine.
Anyway,
I just thought that it was weird.
Kind of odd. But I don't think that. I mean, in the end, she was like envisioning this life that she could have with Telemachus, and they would do this, and they would do that, and they would have a daughter and
2 daughters.
2 daughters, and they would take them here to meet her brother and whatever. But I don't think that really love of Telemachus was why
No.
she decided to become mortal. I think she just finally decided that I can get out of being a god.
Yeah.
And these gods are so terrible and I hate them and they're just cruel. Again, the same thing. And I'm just not going to be part of that anymore.
Yep.
Is what I think.
Yeah, no, that's 100% what I got.
And she cared for Telemachus. So, hey, it's like, okay, I can do it now and then at least I can have somebody.
Yeah. Because it's like, if she really loved mortals and mortality all that much, then why wouldn't she have done this before?
Because she couldn't get the flowers that she needed.
Oh,
she couldn't get off the island.
That's
But
true.
It's not exactly like she thought of it before.
Right. Like,
In
there was
fact-
never a point where she's just like, I wish I was mortal.
In fact, she didn't think of it beforehand. The book gives no hint except I think maybe that's part of the myth, maybe. I'm not sure. I don't remember. I didn't read it. But the book gives no hint that when she asks, she gets off the island because she tells her father off. And so
Right.
they leave the island. And so one of the reasons is to go and destroy Scylla because she's tired of feeling guilty for all of the people that Scylla has killed.
All the sailors.
But the other one is to go back basically home to get this flower, which is what she used initially to transform Scylla and Glaucus, to get the flower. But there's like nothing in the book that talks about her turning herself mortal or even wanting to turn herself mortal. And it doesn't even talk about it then until she gets the flower. And then something's up. She's going to transform something.
Right.
And then they take it back and it talks about, well, she has to go off on her own. This is something she has to do on her own. And that's when you figure out she's going to do it. But there's no lead up to it at all. And so there's really never this great profession of love for the mortal race, for humans. And I wish I was like them. I want to be them. And nothing. No. So it's kind of out of the blue.
The only time that it ever does kind of hint at that is when she talks about the underworld.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
Just
because the people she loves will be there and she will never get to see them again. Like her son. Basically, it's her son.
Right. So, but she does like hint at that multiple times during the book.
She does.
So there's a little bit of it, but there's not enough that would make you think like she's going to actually turn herself mortal.
Yeah. So I don't know. Like I said, story-wise, this thing was kind of weak, I think.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And yeah, I literally wrote in here, unpopular opinion, but I didn't like Circe at all. Like the character.
I didn't either.
I didn't. And that's just really tough when the whole book is about her.
She's whiny.
She was whiny.
She's whiny. Really whiny.
Yeah. And I also hated when she turned Glaucus into a god. I'm just sitting there reading this and I'm just like, this is the stupidest thing that you could ever do because this is not love. Like, what do you think? Like, the first guy who pays her a little bit of attention, he's just like, oh my gosh, he loves me. I'm going to be with him forever. I have to make him a god. And then a second that she turns him into a god, guess what? He goes and runs off with some other woman. Or like
with the gods.
Yeah, with the gods.
Literally the first thing he says was, so does this mean I can go to the Hall of the Gods now?
Yeah.
That's what he says.
He just wanted the power, and then he had the power, and he was just like, well, goodbye to you, Circe. I'm like, what?
Although I do have to say, he let her on.
Oh, yeah.
He let her on.
Oh, for sure. Like, the whole like, because she was helping him with his fishing and all of that, like, before she turned him into a god, and so it's just like, he
Mhm.
knew what he's doing. He was playing her from the start, and I
Yeah.
saw it, and I'm just like, "Girl, you're stupid."
But
Men
at
cannot be
this
trusted.
also, she like she didn't tell him that she was going to do it. She didn't
No,
ask him if he wanted to do it.
no.
She just did it. Like when he was asleep, she did it to him.
Yeah.
So I'm like,
And
oh yeah, but you're so different from other gods.
it was also, like, illegal, I guess,
Yeah.
in the gods world, like,
Yeah.
to turn mortals into gods, like, it's not legal.
Yeah.
So she committed a crime to do this, and he still loved and
And
loved
nobody
her.
questioned how he became a god.
No, they just
Like
took it at
never.
face value that
Like, oh, a new god shows up.
yeah, like, because apparently it's so common for mortals to just wind up becoming gods, I guess.
Spontaneously transform.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was weird. Um, and then when she transforms Scylla, it's in a fit of jealousy. So again, she's so different from other gods.
She's very emotion driven
Yes.
with all of her decisions.
Yeah.
There's never a moment like, oh, I should maybe think about this first. It's just like, no, I am angry now. I am jealous now. I am bitter now. Like, I'm gonna do this. Like, okay.
And then tell everybody I did it.
Yeah.
So I can get exiled.
Like, you do you, girl.
I
You
don't
do
know.
you.
Whatever. Whatever. I just never quite understood the setup. I mean, well, and the setup was like, oh, I remember thinking within the first few pages, oh, here we go again. You know, the main character, oh, woe is me. Everybody treats me so bad because I'm not pretty. Because, you know, it's like, can we possibly maybe think of a better reason to be
Right.
not liked or be an outcast? Or I don't know. It just,
I
it was weird. There was just no reason for it. And yet her brothers and her sister, I mean, granted, they were better liked. However, her mother was going to like toss her younger brother away until Circe said, well, I'll take him. And so she raises her younger brother. So there's really no explanation for that either, really. I mean, she just was like, I don't want him.
Yeah. Well, because he was more like Circe and not so much like the twins.
Yeah, but that didn't quite pan out in the end, though.
No, it sure did not.
But I guess maybe they were more favored by their parents, which I don't know if being favored or being ignored by this family is the better thing. But yet, her brothers and her sister were so much more savvy. They were so much smarter. And they all grew up in the same place. They all were exposed to the same people. And yet, Circe stays like this child for thousands of years and never picks up on anything, blaming everything on the fact that, well, my parents don't like me.
Right.
Nobody likes me. And so she grovels basically to everybody to try and, I guess, be more liked, while her brothers and her sisters are over here playing the game.
Right.
And she never, in thousands of years, never picks up on this. I don't know. It's just a poor setup from the beginning. And again, I just feel like at this point, abused for no reason at all seems cliche at this point.
Yeah. Although I do wonder, since they are gods and things like that, vanity is very important to them. So I guess if you're not quite up to the standards that they would expect, then that would
Well, probably, but it
permit
seems like
abuse, I guess.
maybe vanity and power.
And Circe was neither.
Well, but she was. She just, while her brother was off figuring it all out, Circe just stayed exactly as she was. There was no change for thousands of years. Again, while her brothers and sister were figuring this all out, it was like Circe, I mean, she was an infant and she stayed that way. And the only reason that I can figure why she did it is because she was so busy groveling, trying to make people like her, that she didn't think twice about, again, taking her own power on her own. And then the only reason that she did was for a guy.
Not okay.
Even after
Life lessons in this book.
Even after there was, her brother had long since been sent away to his own kingdom that his dad got for him. And there were rumors of him using these flowers and stuff. I can't remember what it was called, but I think it's the root, or the old world root word for pharmacy.
Pharmaca.
Yeah. So, even after all of that, she didn't think to start looking at herself or using it herself until she wants Glaucus.
Yep.
Anyway, I don't like the setup, obviously.
No.
Really wanted to see more Prometheus. I was kind of hoping she'd go visit Prometheus at some point. But,
Yeah. I guess that's not this book.
It's not this book. I like Prometheus. There you go. Yeah. So anyway, I'm not impressed with Circe. Really much.
No.
Until she was on her own.
And
that's when apparently
like
she started thinking. And I think she only started thinking because she was bored. Yep. And her brother had told her. Her brother said, "Hey, do this." Oh, okay. I guess I'll do that.
I think I should have done this sooner.
I don't know. Maybe I'm being harsh, but I didn't like her.
No, I don't think you're being harsh. I don't at all. I agree with everything that you're saying.
So yeah, anyway, that kind of fell a little flat with me.
Yeah. And the other character that fell very flat for me was Penelope.
Yeah, she was pretty lame too.
That it was just like we have two dull characters getting together and doing dull things. And I'm like, why is this?
When honestly,
there should have been so much. Like I expected there to be hellfire raining down on this island because Penelope is how do you say the name? Odysseus. That one.
Odysseus's wife.
Yeah. And he had spent a lot of his time on this island with Circe and had apparently talked her up to his wife, being like, she was my favorite. Like, mistress.
She's so perfect. Penelope. Sorry, I skipped in my brain. Because he was also talking Penelope up to Circe.
True.
So yeah, he just talked about all the women in his life. This man. But yeah, how perfect she was, and all of this. And
then she shows up out of her own idea. Okay, mind you, after dude dies, right? She comes back with Circe's son to the island of her own accord, and I'm thinking, oh yeah, this is gonna be good. She's coming after this girl.
Okay, so because the other layer of that, Telegonus, who is Circe's son, Telemachus is Penelope's son.
Yes.
So Telegonus leaves the island because he wants to go find his father.
Right.
Because Circe has told stories, but she's sugarcoated it big time.
She did.
She did. So Telegonus goes, and this is canon myth, is that basically through a series of events, he ends up killing Odysseus by accident. Okay, so not really his fault, but the whole reason that Athena wanted to kill Telegonus and Circe had to protect the island from Athena was because Athena had a vision that Telegonus would kill Odysseus. And so she tried to kill Telegonus from the time he was a baby.
Because Athena was in love with Odysseus.
Well, he was, her favorite.
Her favorite
goddess
mortal.
of war. Anyway. Yeah. And then Telegonus being all like consumed with guilt and all of this. And because now Odysseus is gone, now all of these people are trying to, get to Penelope. Because the whole time Odysseus is gone, if you don't know Odysseus, he fought in the Trojan War. And then because he pissed off the gods, basically, it took him like almost 20 years to get home. During that time, Penelope had to hold on to things, and they were trying to say, oh, Odysseus is dead, and now you need to marry me, and all of this. People trying to take That's why she was so perfect, because she
She
held
was,
on.
yeah, she was very loyal. Like,
Yes.
I commend her for that. Like,
Yeah.
I think that that's great that she was that
Yeah.
way.
So here comes Telegonus, and he kills, well, he doesn't really kill Odysseus. Odysseus dies kind of because of Telegonus. And
his own
Telegonus,
fault.
it was. Telegonus feels so guilty that when Penelope pretty much says, take us with you, he does. And he
Right.
takes him to the
To-
island.
Yes.
And yeah. And
But
there
it was
is
like
an
her
ulterior
idea.
motive.
Like, she could have gone to her hometown or her home island of Sparta and been with her family and been safe.
No, because
Oh gosh,
remember,
no, that's right.
she wanted to go to the island because Athena now wanted Telemachus to take Odysseus's place, because she needed, because she was a god, the goddess of war, she wanted a hero. You know, she wanted somebody to go out there fighting in her name and all of this. And she wanted Telemachus because he was Odysseus' son.
Yeah, so who better,
And
theoretically.
So Penelope says, we're taking him, go to your island.
Right.
And that's why they go there. So you think there's going to be a little some.
Like, I expected some more tension. I expected some cat fighting. Like, I wanted drama. Like, you are literally, this is the wife meeting the mistress. And I wanted, like, the wife meeting the favorite mistress. Not just anyone, just the favorite mistress. And I'm like, oh, this is gonna be good. Like, give it to me. No.
And it was talked several times, like Odysseus, really, again, this is like the whole Circe thing, is people come to her island and she's witness to historical events because of people coming to her island, but she's not even a witness to these events because they're just coming and telling her what happened.
Yeah, they're just stories.
So yeah. So anyway, when Odysseus was there, he talked about, you know, this, I don't know if you call it tradition or whatever, that obligation that if someone kills a son's father, then the son would go and kill his son or his father's
blood
killer.
Yes.
So that was mentioned several different times. Did anything come of that?
No.
They didn't blame Telegonus. They knew what happened. It wasn't his fault, so it's all good.
It was so disappointing.
There was no drama at all to this.
Like,
None.
There's no way that how is there not any drama?
None.
Yeah.
None. So anyway, yeah,
it was just like a big letdown. Like
Yeah.
a lot of the book kind of was.
yeah. So, yeah. So then, you know, somehow they figure that they have to confront Athena. So she takes her spell down. And she comes and tries to take Telemachus, and Telemachus says, "No, thank you." And so Telegonus says, "Hey, I'll go. I'm Odysseus' son too." And so off they go.
All is well and good.
All is good.
And I'm like, they're talking about how Athena's so powerful, and there's only been like a handful of people that have told her no in her life or whatever, and they did not fare so well after telling her no. But Telemachus is just like, you know what? I'm not like for you. Like,
I don't think so. No,
I was like, that's not the life for me. And she's like, oh, okay. What about you, Telegonus? Like,
I'll go.
he's just, and then I'll go. Why not? Like,
so many things were set up that nothing happened.
No, it was just like, there's so many good opportunities for some drama and for things to happen. And it was just like, we built up to it, and then we got to the edge of the cliff where you think everyone's just going to get pushed over and it's just going to be, you know, all these amazing things. Nothing. Everyone just like slowly backed away from the edge.
Talked off the edge.
Yep.
Talked off the ledge. It didn't happen. So yeah, the story was just weak. It was.
So you 5-star people out there, I'd love to know your why.
Why?
Like, what?
Why?
What really was it that made you want to give this book 5 stars?
I don't get it.
What other books have you read that you have given 5 stars to, because I'd also like to know that. Because I'm
Probably Evelyn Hugo.
probably.
I'm sorry. You know what? To each their own. And it is a very well written book. I
Right.
mean,
Yeah, we're not like hating on Madeline Miller's writing because
no,
she's an
gosh, no.
amazing author. Like I
Yeah.
want to read Song of Achilles, even though I didn't like Circe. I still am planning on reading Song of Achilles.
Well, yeah, because like you said, Achilles and Patroclus, they actually did stuff.
True.
They went out and did stuff.
True. And there's the whole Trojan War that you get to read about too, which yay.
Yeah. But you know, and this is probably one of the most quoted lines from this book, but it really is good. You know, this was when Odysseus was with her, but she says later, years later, I would hear a song made of our meeting. The boy who sang it was unskilled, missed notes more often than he hit, yet the sweet music of the verses shone through his mangling. I was not surprised by the portrait of myself, the proud witch undone before the hero's sword, kneeling and begging for mercy. Humbling women seems to be a chief pastime of poets, as if there can be no story unless we crawl and weep. It's good shit right there. That is good. And like I said, probably one of the most quoted lines of the book. But there was a line towards the end too, and she talks about she'd always thought the gods were the opposite of death. I can't remember what it is. I thought once that the gods were the opposite of death, but I see now that they are more dead than anything, for they are unchanging and could hold nothing in their hands. It's good stuff. I mean, it's really very well written. Lisa, those are probably two of the most quoted things. They stood out. But there's lots of things like that are in there. But so good. The writing is so good.
Just
the story just
the story
needed
fell short.
The plot
it could
itself.
have been shorter too.
Oh.
Like this book is 400 pages long.
Again.
Like you can't have a 400-page book with no action.
This is the same sort of story. Little. It's only like.
Is it like what, 200?
Probably a little over 200 if I ever get there. 230-ish. Maybe a little longer. Yeah. So perfect. But it was perfect. Because we didn't have to repeat every minor thing like walking the island. Or mixing potions. Or what have you. We didn't have to, we could have cut so much out of this. This is good. By the way, read this book. So if you like character study stories, read this book. Anyway, yeah, it went on too long. It went on too long.
For sure.
And it could have talked a lot more about. I keep going back to Piranesi, but part of Piranesi's character study was about the effects of isolation on a person and loneliness that this just didn't have. I mean, I don't know. It just didn't. So,
yeah.
Not a lot of deep thoughts, I didn't think.
No. Not for Circe. Mm-mm. Or, no. Yeah.
No. Okay.
What she would have expected had her been alone on an island. A lot of time for reflection and deep thinking.
Deep thinking. So what did you think about, this is often called a very feminist book?
No. Where did I see? I wrote it down somewhere about how, I don't know where it was. I made a note about how I was just, like I said, expecting a badass feminist novel. And I didn't find that at all. Mm-hmm. She was weak. She did so much to try and gain attention and affection from men. I'm like, that's not what a feminist does.
Okay, so I'm going to do this again. I know. I keep referencing other books, but Kaiki, this book, if you want a myth retelling of a woman who is oppressed and finds and uses the little power that women have in their society, and she grabs it and runs with it and makes the most of it, this is how you write that. This is
That's
a feminist book right here. This is good. So, Kaiki by Vaishnavi Patel. This is what this wishes it could be. It's an Indian retelling versus like Greek mythology, but in the style of, like, to me, again, like, the feminist angle to me is a woman recognizing her own value and taking hold of that value and making something of it, even in a society that tells her she can't. And maybe possibly even making a little bit of change.
Circe had all of that. The setup was there for it to happen.
Yeah.
And it
like
didn't.
I said, I feel like she just always stayed in that victim mentality. And even when she did do things to kind of further herself or better herself, it was always only
For someone else.
well, for someone else or for power. And she never used that power. I mean, she basically used it to punish men. That was about the only thing she did.
Right.
Or she was doing it to protect her son. Or I think she
Which is
gave
a commendable
Odysseus.
thing.
Yeah, I think she gave Odysseus some magical gifts when he went off.
Yes.
So, like, where I don't understand the feminist angle in this book.
It wasn't there. That's why we can't understand it, because it wasn't there.
Didn't recognize it. I don't know. I mean, there is a certain aspect of a woman coming into her power, but I didn't see much growth from that.
No.
So I don't know. I mean, in the end, when, she kind of did recognize how powerful she was, it wasn't for herself. It was like, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I didn't get the feminist angle in this because, yeah, she was always doing what she did because she was tangled up with some man, whether it was a lover or a son or her father or her brother. I didn't get it. Anyway. Yeah, that was another big thing that this book was supposed to be. And all of these, like, mythological retellings, I think, I haven't really read other than Kaike. But I think that's the angle, by taking these kind of vilified women and telling their story, giving them a voice. The angle of all of these books, I think, like Ariadne and Electra, and there's a new one coming out. I can't remember what it's called, but it's actually about Penelope.
Okay.
But I think that the whole point of that is giving women a voice and telling their story and empowering them. But I just did not see where Circe was empowered.
No. Like, if I...
In herself. She obviously did gain power.
Right.
But in her own interior, in her own self, I don't think she did.
So, if I didn't know that this book was written by a woman, I almost would think that this book was written by a man trying to think like
a woman.
Yeah.
I can see that.
That's kind of how it felt.
I can see that.
The whole time.
Yeah.
Which is really sad.
Yeah. Yeah. But I think a lot of the problem with that is that she was so passive. I mean, it really is difficult to show an empowered woman who doesn't do anything. I mean, literally doesn't do anything. You kind of have to have interaction with the society at large in order to show a change in the woman and how she responds to society. And she didn't. She had no interaction with society at large. So I think it is very difficult for that.
Yeah.
To show how, she was an empowered woman. when she wasn't. She wasn't. I think the only thing that I could say is maybe towards the end where she was empowered enough to stand up to her father and then empowered enough to change herself mortal.
Right.
She made those choices for herself.
Yes.
Um,
but that was the
but
only time, and that was at the end of the book.
And that was at the end. And even at that, like we've talked before, I didn't see a progression of growth that led to that. It was just like a choice she made, just like everything else. Like I said, it was so episodic. Like, okay, this is what happened today. Oh, new day, new episode. Now today. I didn't see a progression that led to these things. Because again, she had no interaction with society at large. So how can you have a... I don't know. I just don't think it fit. It just didn't fit.
It didn't.
I mean, I get the attraction of Circe. She's an interesting character, but as a main character for a book, I just don't think it works.
No.
But anyway, there it is.
Yeah.
Do you have anything else?
I don't think so. There just really wasn't a character in here that I liked. Also, that was one thing that bugged me.
After the point where her sister had the Minotaur, I liked her sister. I did.
I could see that.
I can't say I disliked her sister before because there wasn't really anything to do. She didn't have a lot of interaction with Circe. And that was another thing. There's so much summary. Instead of playing something out, it was just summarized. Like she talked a lot about how cruel they were to her, but they didn't really, there was no real scenes where it played out. So, I mean, I can't even say I didn't like her then because you just really didn't see her. You didn't see much of any real character. It's just what Circe told you about them. So I can't say I didn't, but I kind of did like her sister after that. So I'm like, maybe she's a bitch, but damn.
She's smart about it though.
She really took that power for herself, and good or bad, she made a life for herself. She was the feminist.
Yes, she actually was.
She was. So I liked her sister.
Maybe the story should have been about her. Like we said, it should have been about her sister.
Her sister. Yeah, that would have
for sure.
That would have made a good one.
So much better.
Mm-hmm. It would have. I mean, maybe someday somebody will write. But somebody probably has, and I just don't know about it, but about Prometheus. But I guess there again, what can you say about a guy who gets his liver eaten every day? But I mean, maybe the story.
I feel like that would be very similar to Circe.
Probably. But maybe, a story about leading up to that, and then that's the end.
I still think
very sad end. But
I still think it would play out kind of like Circe, where it'd be like, I think so.
Even if like the ending was him getting caught and sentenced, but like the whole story was about why he did it in the first place.
I mean,
why he loved the mortals and why he took them fire and why he did. I think that might be good. I don't know. Maybe that book probably exists. I just need to go look for it. But anyway.
Yeah.
Anyway.
We'll get more into Greek mythology later because I actually do really enjoy Greek mythology.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think that was one thing that also saved this book for me. That in addition to Miller's writing. Like if you don't like Greek mythology, I don't know if you would like Circe.
No, probably not.
Like I think you either have to like it or else you're not gonna like the book.
Yeah, probably not. Because it really does, even though a lot of it is just like secondhand reporting to Circe, there's a lot of mythology in this book.
And Madeline Miller did a lot of research
it's good.
into Greek mythology for this. Mm-hmm. Like she dug deep for a lot of the stuff that's in the book, which is very much appreciated. And so I definitely think you have to have an interest in it in order to like Circe.
I think when we first talked about the books that we were going to read, and I mentioned that I had read something that you don't have to know Greek mythology to get this book. And I think that's true.
Yes.
Because you kind of have to have a taste for mythology. And honestly, why are you reading this book if you don't? But still.
Exactly.
You don't have to have a big grounding in Greek mythology to understand the book.
No.
It's very accessible.
Yeah, because my knowledge of Greek mythology just comes from whatever Thor and the Marvel movies have told me.
That's Norse mythology.
God dang it. Well, so
I'll work on it, people. I promise. We'll get it
scratch
right.
that.
We'll get it right. The Trojan horse.
Yeah,
That's Greek mythology.
that. Okay. Yeah.
Those are the Greeks.
For Sparta, the Gerard Butler movie or whatever.
The
300.
300.
That's where my Greek mythology knowledge comes from. So,
It's sort of the way it went.
I mean, hey, it's
a good movie, though. And not just for the thinly clad men. It really is a good story. God, when they throw that messenger in the pit. Maybe we need to watch that movie.
I think so.
It is kind of a gory movie, so maybe for our spooky we can watch the movie. Maybe. Yes. Teaser that we might be talking about spooky stuff.
Yeah, spooky.
Anyway, yes, Sparta, Troy, Helen of Troy.
Yes, the face that launched 1,000 ships.
You've seen Troy, haven't you?
I have.
Okay, so
I prefer 300, but
well, Troy's very long. But yeah. But I think probably Troy is maybe a teensy bit more historically accurate, and that's stretching it.
I mean, I don't watch these movies for the historical accuracy. Let me just make that clear.
True.
I go into them already expecting them to not have accuracy.
Well, true, but I'm just saying, I think maybe a teensy bit more. But anyway, yeah, Sparta. Pretty cool. So anyway, well, look at us, over an hour still. And no activity, because we couldn't think of anything to do.
We just figured that we shouldn't show everyone how good we are brewing potions like Circe. So.
Or try and weave something, because she had a loom that Daedalus gave her.
That would have been so bad.
I kind of liked him too, Daedalus, but he was kind of victim too.
Yes, he was.
But I kind of liked him.
I did.
And I liked them together.
Yes.
Too, because Circe was really very mature about that relationship.
Finally.
Yeah.
The only one, it was like the shortest of them all, but it was the one that she was most mature.
She was actually very mature about that. So I did like that, because she did, in that sense, take something for herself.
Yes.
So I like that one too. So anyway, that was kind of cool. Anyway.
Yeah. Okay. So that was our thoughts on Circe. Yeah.
Feel free to comment on that.
Yeah.
Tell us how we're wrong.
Exactly. Or agree with us.
Agree with us.
Yeah.
We like people who agree with us.
We sure do. But we also like people who disagree, because
we do.
We're kind of debaters. So Kelly especially. She's like the best debater that I know.
That's her very kind way of saying I like to argue about things. But only when I'm right.
Which is all the time.
Of course.
But okay. So our next book is my pick. I'm excited for this one. My Sister the Serial Killer.
Yes.
Anyone who knows me knows I have a vast love for serial killers. Yeah, I'm a little psycho. It's fine. I'm okay with it.
You like reading about serial killers, and maybe watching movies. But if you've seen any of her blog, when she went and spent the night in the haunted house, see how chicken she really is.
I am working on it. Okay? You know what? Any of you go and stay 11 hours overnight at the Conjuring house and you don't be a chicken about it, I'd like to meet you if you aren't scared after spending 11 hours in the dark at the Conjuring house.
See, this is where we're different, is that I couldn't do it and I don't care. I'm a chicken. I don't like
I have never once said that I am not chicken. Let me just make that clear.
I love horror movies. I like serial killers. Anybody who knows me knows I love serial killers.
Yeah, I like to be scared. And I think that serial killers are very interesting.
They are. I will not argue about that. But go read her blog about her staying in the Conjuring house, because that was
the Lizzie Borden house too.
That was kind of funny.
Yeah,
'Cause
you
I'm
will.
like,
I have
"Yeah, you
audio
big
clips.
chicken."
I have audio clips from that
did.
that I put into the blog
She did.
article, so you guys can listen to that, and you will literally hear me freaking out and be like, "No, I don't want to do that." And the investigators are just like, "For the blog, do it for the blog. That's why I'm here."
She got sent to the basement by herself.
Not the
Was that
basement. I went to one of the upstairs bedrooms.
No, you went down into the basement. Was that at the Lizzie Borden house? Remember? It was reader blog. Yeah, you went down the basement because remember there was writing on the wall? There was like a picture on the wall or something. She's
We
gonna
went
have to
down
go
into-
read her own blog.
We went down into the basement as a group, but they sent me upstairs into the the bedrooms.
Yeah.
Well, they tried to get me to go by
that's-
myself,
okay.
and then I freaked out, and one of the investigators had to come with me because I would not go alone. And then they wanted me to sit at the bottom of the staircase. And again, I freaked out, and the investigator had to come and like stand in the corner while I sat on the stairs. Because I'm like, I don't want to. They're sitting over there just like, yeah, just let me know if you see something peek around the corner, if you get touched or whatever. And we're talking to the ghost with this flashlight, and they're like, oh yeah, we love her. Okay. And I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
I just want to go home. But anyway, yeah,
Anyway, yeah.
you can find that article, like Kelly said, over my blog. I'll have a link down in the description.
There you go.
So there we go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good times. Yeah. But yeah, this is our next book. We don't have a date picked yet for when the live stream is going to be. I'm assuming probably first part of October.
Yeah, because this is our September book. We're actually on time for a change. So this is the book we'll read in September if you want to read along with us.
We'd love it if you did.
We would. We really would. And then, yeah, we'll talk about it in October.
Yep, and we'll have updates and stuff posted on both of our Instagrams at Katie Reads and at the Everyday Adventurers. I'll have them linked down in the description as well. And yeah,
That's it.
I think that's it.
I think that's it.
So hope you enjoyed listening to our thoughts on Circe.
Yeah.
Disappointing thoughts of Circe.
Again, as I said last time, I am so ready for a hit.
We're still waiting.
We're still waiting for the hit, and I don't know. This has just confirmed that no more hyped books for me.
Oh yeah, no. I can't.
It's like no more hyped books. I think actually we have a couple more.
Yep.
Yeah, I think this one.
Yeah. Oh, the Midnight
sure.
Library was actually one of the
Yeah.
Goodreads winners. So
Yeah.
there we go. Got it.
But you know what? So was that one, I think, wasn't it?
This one is also the hype book. So
Well, we're gonna
Next
find
year.
out. We're gonna find out.
Yeah.
I keep saying that though, but I look at my shelf of books I have yet to read, and there's some hype stuff in there too. So obviously, I keep buying this stuff.
well, I mean, it's hard to resist the hype when
It
it's so
is.
high, you know. And you're like, well, all these other people like it, then I should like it too.
I must like it too. No. Anyway, one day it will be.
Yeah, we'll
I
find
will one
something.
day.
Yeah.
So anyway,
All right. Well, I
I'm
think
all
that's
done.
gonna. Yeah.
I'm all
I think that's gonna do it for our tea time today. Thanks for watching if you did, and let us know down in the comments
yeah, let
what
us know
you
were
thought.
here.
Yeah, let us know you're here.
Or just say hey, just say hi if you
Yeah.
want. That's okay too.
drop us an emoji. I don't really care. You can just do what you want.
Just tell us you were here.
Yeah. But yeah, October. Be ready.
Yeah.
And we'll see you guys next time.
All right. Bye.
Bye.